So this meeting is going to be recorded just so for folks who couldn't make it. I'll post it out tomorrow on our website, if not tonight, using a YouTube link. So that also just helps with keeping the sound and the volume and the audio clean, if you will. So thank you to everyone for taking the time tonight. Obviously, we had said the last time we had one of these that our plan was to host a couple of these as we got closer to reopening, or if there was an extended closure. And obviously, with the governor's announcement on Tuesday, the latter became true, and we aren't reopening the buildings till the fall, we hope. So, I've been in constant touch with our staff. We had a faculty meeting yesterday, gave everybody a day to kind of process it. And we've been meeting all week with the students. We started with grade 9 on Tuesday. We met with grade 8 yesterday. We met with the senior class officers and advisor yesterday. We met with the sophomores today. We're meeting with the juniors on Monday, and we'll be setting out an invite to meet with the seniors within the next couple of days as well, as a whole class. I said in my podcast last week that though the building's been closed, we haven't been. I want to just take a second to really commend and thank all of the teachers right now. And I don't just mean the teachers of our staff. I mean the teachers at home that are helping keep our kiddos alert, engaged, and on point with what is really a situation that nobody could have imagined was even on our wildest dreams as recently as like February vacation. I think we all felt like this pandemic was out there, but I don't know that we expected it to hit us to the extent that it has. At least I know that, and maybe I'm speaking for myself, I know that I didn't. I know Mr. DeMeglio didn't. But as we talked about last night at the school committee meeting, and one of the phrases that some of the staff and some of the teachers have been using has been that we've been building the plane while we've been mid-flight, and now I think we're in flight. And while there are certainly some elements to the flight that are going to continue to be adjusted, I can't thank people enough, whether it's our staff, whether it's our paraprofessionals, our secretaries who've jumped in, our parents, and most of all, really, the number of students that have been engaged. We've been keeping really significant track of the number of students who've been in touch with us, and we've made contact with between 95 and 96% of our students just in class, and we've made contact with almost 100% of our students or their parents in some way, shape, or form in just the last couple of weeks. And that is a really remarkable achievement and feat, and that's a credit to the kids as much as the parents and the staff and anybody else. So I wanted to start by saying thank you for humoring what has really been a completely unbearable situation in a lot of ways, and doing so while managing your own homes and your own challenges with everything. It does not go unnoticed, and it is certainly appreciated. I am going to go through a few slides that I have that, part of the reason I'm doing the slides is so you don't have to look at my face the entire time. I am going to do my best to cycle back and forth between that and watching the participants that are still adding. Good news, we're up to 100 and 102, so the issue of being capped at 100 seems to have been solved. I know Dr. Tiano is here, our superintendent, and he wanted to stop by, and I know that there may be a time and place where in this presentation where he may add some color as well. And Mr. DeMeglio, feel free to chime in on anything.
Yep.
So here's where we are. I hope you're all seeing something that says UHS Parent Town Hall. school closure 2020, April 23rd, 2020. A few weeks ago when we started this process, we said that we were going to begin by making sure, first and foremost, we were going to stay connected, that we were going to be flexible, and we were going to take care of all students. And we really feel like we're going to continue to do that. And now that we're in this absolutely for the long haul, we're here to support. One of the things we've really reiterated to the students is that things change, and we want to reiterate that to you, that things change on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. That what was reality a week ago may not be reality today. And certainly as students and families experience different things, we're here to support them with whatever that may be. And sometimes we acknowledge, and I know our teachers acknowledge, that sometimes that means that academics may not be coming first in some families' lives, or there are certain emotions that people are dealing with that are challenging and getting in the way of work or school or what have you. So we remain very committed to those 5 things. I would be remiss if I didn't start off by talking about them. I'm going to break this into things that we know, and I'm going to talk about some of the things we don't. So far, what we know is that the governor has closed school through the end of the year. Some of these details are relative to some things like testing. For example, last month when we talked it wasn't last month, it was the beginning of this month. When we talked about the SAT, there was still some talk about having the June SAT. The College Board has since canceled that. So for you parents of juniors who may have registered for that, I'll have some information through the course of this presentation and also through the counselors. We did poll the students last week on how remote learning was going. And admittedly, we were a little worried. We were, again, piloting something that was very new. And the feedback has been really incredibly positive. When we got about 120 to 130 or odd responses. About 81, 82% of the kids indicated that the amount of work we were giving was just right. And we had counselors reach out to every single student who answered that the workload was too much. Not surprisingly, nobody said it was too little, but we were really pleased that even the kids who said it was too much, almost all of them indicated that it was really contextual. It was because of some things they were dealing with. It was because of the timing that they took that survey. And overall, we've actually made some changes to our remote learning model based on the feedback from the students. I'll talk about that in a second as well. We are doing strictly credit, no credit for Q4, which means we are going strictly pass-fail for classes that meet second semester only. There are a few classes we have, obviously, the kids take just for half a year. Those will be all pass-fail. And our last day of school is June 17th. And that's for the underclassmen. There'll be quite a bit tonight dedicated to what we're doing with our class of 2020. That being said, as much as there are things we know, there are some things we don't. MCAS was canceled, and we have not yet been given any guidance on what's going to happen to those exams. We're pretty sure that grade 8 is not going to be taking them next year in grade 9 at the beginning of the year to replicate what would have been the grade 8 MCAS. Could that happen? Sure. We have not gotten any guidance whatsoever from the Commonwealth on MCAS. We have not gotten any guidance on the science MCAS. And our grade 9 students, if you're a parent of a ninth grader, they would be right now hitting crunch time before the ninth grade physics exam. The state in the last couple of years has actually gotten rid of a couple of the science tests. So the only test that they have other than physics remaining is biology. But we have students that we're not sure yet. Are they going to take the biology exam as sophomores? Or is the fact that they passed physics going to be considered enough based on the class? Because there are some schools out there that don't have a class that their kids will take next year. That'll be an MCAS class. We're lucky that we are. But if our kids are taking a class that's normed against an MCAS, we don't want them to be set up where they have to take a test where the kid in the district next door does not. So we're waiting for some guidance on that. We also, I had heard a couple of questions about, well, they'll have the sophomores take MCAS at the beginning of the year. There typically is a makeup test, Mr. DeMeglio, November?
November. Yep.
And you know, that's typically a makeup test. Would the state urge us to have all 10 rising 11th graders just take the makeup test to get rid of a couple of testing requirements? Possibly, but we don't have guidance on that. And we don't necessarily know what the classes are going to look like at the start of next year. That is a major focus, not just for UHS, but our entire district over the next 4 or 5 months. As we look ahead, our plans, I mentioned the SAT administration. Uxbridge High School's contracted with the College Board to offer 4 tests. We usually offer October, December, March, and May. We know that the College Board has added an administration for September. They've never given an administration in September, but because of the number of kids who missed both March and June, as well as some who missed in May, there are 3 testing opportunities that are going to have to be made up. So they've added the test in September. I've been working with some of our other principals to make sure that all of us have a local option. For example, Sutton and Nipmuc do not offer the SAT. Most of the time, their kids will come to us, Northbridge, Douglas, or Hopedale. So what we've been asking is, could they maybe pick up one of those odd months that we don't offer, so our kids don't have to travel all over creation when they take the SAT next year. And that impacts both our rising seniors and our rising juniors, because some of them would have been taking the test at the beginning of the year as well. We've been talking a great deal about what Q4 looks like in terms of credit, no credit. At what point there's the threshold of students being held accountable and maybe not getting credit for the quarter if they haven't done any work, and how that could impact if they were on the bubble of not passing. Again, the good news is most of our kids have made contact with us, and a lot of them are doing the work. And we do expect that that's something that will be an ongoing conversation in May, and right now is probably a focus for our counselors in terms of seniors who need to meet graduation requirements. One question that has come up a little bit about sophomores and juniors worried about grade point average, and how the pass fail or the credit no credit could impact it. We have something that we send out with our transcripts. This will impact seniors. This could impact some of the 9th grade parents as well. Our school profile will now include an explanation of what happened this year. To be very honest, I've been working with higher ed on asking them what they wanted to say. And I'm saying that because, you know, we want to not set any of our students up. And we also realize that for most of the students in the nation, that is something that we want to make sure we have letter perfect before those transcripts go out, even in June. So we're very much ahead of that, and also making sure that GPA isn't negatively impacted. Mr. DeMeglio has been working, I tell you, probably as hard as anybody on making sure that the things people see on their grade books are credit and no credit, and then the pass. Mr. DeMeglio, correct me if I'm wrong, pass doesn't have any impact on the formula for GPA.
No, we've recalculated that, and we're working out the numbers a little bit as we see more and more input from the third quarter grades. We're devising a plan and figuring out the weights of those quarters and trying to make them as equitable as possible. So it's sort of ongoing right now, whereas Q3 just ended, and we're just still accepting a little bit of late work, trying to be as lenient as we can with kids to get that late work in. That's so important, especially because third quarter is numerical grades, and that does apply to GPA.
Thanks, Mike. And one other thing that we've reiterated to the students is that we're not clairvoyant, we're not mind readers. We want to be able to do whatever we can to support our students and families while we're away. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the resources the district has in place for our kids and families, from our counselors, from food service, from everything. But we need to know what those things are. And we talked to the students today and yesterday and Tuesday, and every one of our meetings, we have been saying, reach out to us, let us know what's going on, because we can only help the details that we know. As we shifted to remote learning, you are going to see your kids start seeing a little bit more new material. What we've asked our teachers to do is identify the things that are really the most important to do between now and the end of the school year, but to also acknowledge that there are going to be some things that are going to be filtered into the beginning of next year. That's the subject of our next couple of staff meetings, actually. So we're trying to balance face-to-face with things that can be done, what we're saying, asynchronously, kids can do on their own, or be handled, without the teacher being present. That's not necessarily a particularly long list of things for some kids, so we want to be flexible with that. And we're balancing our structure on a weekly basis. We got some feedback from the students that, having things done on Monday and handed in on Friday for a great number of kids worked perfect. Some of the feedback was, it's really overwhelming to see it all on Monday, but I know it's all done by Friday. I have my weekend off. There were other students who said, my weeks are really busy. I'm still working. It's kind of a grind, but I would get things done if they were due on Monday. So we have opened up our window so that kids can hand things in starting anytime after class, Thursday or Friday, all the way through till Monday. And it's not going to be considered late. It's sort of a floating window of when things can be handed in. And the reality is, if things come in a few days late after that, I think people are going to be very accommodating, but they also want to hear from the kids or from parents, so that they know that could be an impact. Hey, I need an extra day, or I need an extension. I don't know that you're going to find anybody in our building who's going to deny that. But there is accountability, and so there's also reality. We want to hold people accountable, but we know there are a lot of different situations out there. So based on feedback from the students, we said we're shifting when assignments are posted and handed in. They have the weekend if they need it. They'll be accepted from, it says Friday, but really Thursday. Again, we're trying to manage the workload, and it's imperfect. Some students have told us, well, I get a ton of work in this class, but I don't get so much in that class, and it's hard to balance it. Some people are using those class sessions solely as times to check in. And then, I went to 4 or 5 classes yesterday. It was maybe 20, 25 minutes of like, let's check in, let's see what the assignment is. I'll give you some details about the work that we're going to do. But again, the students have been saying it's manageable. Sometimes they're getting to those class sessions, 25, 30 minutes in, and they're wrapping up, and that's okay. And we have a lot of folks that are scheduling individual office hours off those class times because they find that working one-on-one or one-on-3 with a couple of kids is really helpful. And again, by the end of next week, we'll have met with all of our classes. We've had, I would say, mediocre attendance at those, but we've shared out. Once we're done, we'll share out the information for all of those presentations. Is pretty consistent, with the exception of the presentation we'll have with the seniors. Academically, we have not made a determination on final exams for the underclassmen. I could say, sorry if there are any English people on there, there will be no senior finals. That could have an exclamation point at the end of it. That could have a period at the end of it. There will be no senior finals, period. That's come up. And again, academically, we're working to adjust the beginning of next year based on the end of this year. And some people are worried, hey, will my student be just as prepared when they leave? The answer is yes, they're going to be prepared. We have no control over what can and cannot be learned right now as far as the timeframes for many students. So we're differentiating that as best we can, and we're going to do quite a bit of work in that first quarter and a half of school coming back next year, even longer if we need it, to make sure that our kids get the skills and the content they need so they leave here successfully. And in fact, that's conversations we're even having with higher ed so that they know what's coming out of here. And the College Board is making some adjustments to the APs as well. So I went through MCAS. We're waiting on guidance. I'm not going to repeat myself. We'll keep you posted as soon as we know things specifically about the rising 10th grade and the current 10th grade. SATs. I mentioned that the College Board's adding the September administration, so there will be testing each month, September, October, November, December, which is, again, a change. I will say that we've had great conversations so far with our local area to make sure kids won't have to drive too far. If you've registered for March, there is a if you've registered for March, there is still the refund window. I'm not sure if people have gotten those refunds yet. June, they're not doing a refund, but they are giving the students who registered for June and paid for their registration early registration options for the new test in September. So they get like a preferred seat in the September test. I will say it does not appear that Uxbridge High School is going to be a test site in September, but there will be one locally. And what we're trying to do is, one of the reasons why we're trying not to use Uxbridge High School is we're thinking it's going to be a bigger test than necessarily the one that we have typically. And we don't know if we'll have enough proctors, but we're willing to send our proctors somewhere else to add to a bigger test site. AP tests, the school committee did vote last night to support our recommendation from our school council. We're amending our handbook for this year that students do not have to take the AP test in order to receive AP credit. We do have a lot of confidence that our students are going to do very well based on what the College Board has told us the test is going to look like. But there may be some students who decide they do want to take one test versus another. This is not permanent. This is just for this year and hopefully only this year. We did put some language in that said if there's another kind of emergency, natural disaster, earthquake, that sort of thing, that students would be able to not take the AP test. But, and this is not an all or nothing. If there's a student taking 3 APs and they feel very confident or feel like they want to take one, but not a second or a third, we'll make sure that we work with that. We will be going public with an online payment mechanism if they have not registered already, but if they have, they can request that refund, sending a note to Mr. Barry and saying, I'm not going to be taking the test. And there isn't a cancellation fee or anything like that. And again, as a reminder, the testing is online. It can be taken at home. It's a 45-minute open response only. There's no multiple choice. And the test date is the only thing that right now we know is set by the College Board. We don't even have really times or windows by which that test has to be taken. And again, it's 45 minutes. On to senior events, and some of this includes juniors, and I'm sure some interest from the underclassmen as well. The prom was scheduled for May 1st. It was postponed once. It could be canceled outright as a school event. When we talked to the officers yesterday, the vibe from the class is really to try and have graduation as a number one and prom as a number two. There are some challenges that prom presents. Particularly if they have graduation first, namely they're not our students anymore. We have a survey that's going out to seniors about priorities and dates. We also have a survey that's going to go out tomorrow morning to all the parents of our seniors, asking them for their information, things that they want, their feedback. We're really at the mercy with both of them of the guidelines set by the governor. Where right now, and this was something we talked about yesterday with the class officers, the governor had used the day June 29th with talking about daycares and with other kinds of businesses remaining closed. There's still a ban on events of greater than 10 people. So we have we're very much right now in a holding pattern. But I will say that Dr. Tiano and I, central office, our business manager, have been working incredibly hard on a plan for graduation. And when we can publicize our intentions, we will, because we have right now really a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. And we also want to plan something beyond whatever we do with graduation, whatever we do with the prom. We want to plan something for August that will bring the seniors and our staff together. That was something that we've heard loud and clear from parents. We've heard that from the kids. And so Mr. DeMeglio and I are working on that, maybe as last send-off sort of event for the seniors. We do also have a plan in place for something sooner than that we will be releasing in the next couple of weeks, but where I don't have all the details right now. All I can tell you is to be patient. We do have something we think is going to be pretty cool for the seniors because we're legitimately sad for them. I have, I saw it yesterday when I met with them. I saw it yesterday with when I met with the advisor. And I've seen it when I've talked to parents and kids and our staff. But we do have a few things that we are going to put in place. And again, we have a number of things in play for graduation. So with respect, there are some things we still need to decide. We have our annual awards night, which right now we cannot hold, but we have awards that we still plan on giving to our seniors, awards, scholarships, medals, that sort of thing. And we need to have the ability to gather a crowd while either remaining socially distant or giving it time for the curve to be reduced in such a way that we can still have an event. And again, that's going to come from powers much higher than me or even the superintendent. Overwhelmingly, I want people to hear that we want to do something special that replicates a real live graduation and not something fake. I've heard some people in my principals universe that have some ideas about, graduations and involving a lot of things that are virtual. I'm not necessarily on board with that. I can be put on board with that if that's the vibe of the parents and the kids, which is why we're sending out the survey. But I do want to say there've been a ton of suggestions. There've been a lot of rumors. There've been a lot of suggestions that people have said, well, why don't we just do this? And everything that we've talked about with respect to that, there are some costs. There are some things that we are working very, very closely with as a central office and high school team to make sure we do right. And again, one thing that I realized at some point yesterday was that we had not gotten really the feedback of the entire class or the seniors as a whole and their families about what's important. And so part of it for me was, let's try and do this as quickly as we can. Let's give them a graduation as close as we can to their regular date. But maybe people are more inclined to wait and see what we can do if we wait this out. So expect that survey. It's not going to take long. I know I ask a lot of parents to give us feedback, and we've asked a lot of kids to give us feedback. I'd like to think that we only ask when it's really, really important. This is a really, really important thing for us to have. For us to base some of our decisions on, because quite frankly, other than that, it's just me, Mr. DeMeglio, Dr. Tiano, and maybe a few opinions that we've heard, and we don't know if those opinions necessarily are the whole or just a few or the people they've talked to. So we want to do what's right. And again, with respect, something that came up, senior college planning, something that's coming up now. And I want to be very transparent, not to add more stress to senior parents, but there's been some chatter about some of the colleges not opening in the fall. And there's been some chatter about some of the colleges staying online for at least part of the fall, which has led to a lot more conversations, at least among some of the undergraduates I know, about gap years and taking time away from school. And so again, if there are circumstances that you're not sure about, or there are circumstances that may be changing as a family, financial aid situations, counselors are going to make those a priority. They have reached out to every single senior already, but and lastly, our scholarship information was sent out. It is due at the end of the month. I thought I saw Mr. Barry pop in here at some point. I see a Christopher Barry. I'm going to unmute it. Mr. Barry, is that the real Mr. Barry?
This is, what's up?
Hey, it's Mr. Barry. He's got a sidekick. Um,
Yeah, he's
am
pulling my
I
AirPods
forgetting
out.
anything on the college planning piece?
No, so we've again, like you said, we've contacted all the seniors. Again, for the most part, some seniors are in pretty good shape, and it's just one of those things where, like you said, the rumor about some colleges are not opening up at the fall. We can't really do much planning with that until it's more like official, I guess. Scholarships are due next Thursday. I'll send an email to the students tonight once the kids go to bed. Kids have been pretty good about contacting me if there's any kind of hiccups or issues and transcripts and things like that. But keep us connected with that. Mr. Rubin, I think I heard you said something about AP exams and times not set. I believe the times are set
Okay,
in
great.
that as well. And when I meet with the students regarding the APs and the teachers, I'll make sure that they get an extra copy of that schedule. Most of the students should be receiving emails from AP, so they should be getting that information about what time their exam is and what the date of their exam is.
Thanks, Mr. Barry.
Got it.
All right, let me continue on here. I'm trying to be pretty transparent about some of the challenges that we've had. These next two kind of go together. We are working on the things that are most critical for our kids between this year and next year. And we want to make sure what we're covering. I think you'll hear this as a recurring theme. We want to make sure that from an academic standpoint, what we're doing at the start of next year will make up for whatever we've lost here. I have a lot of faith in our teachers to be able to do that. The other part of this is we're spending a lot of time reaching out to students, and we want to make sure that, and we talked about this with the kids today, and I think Mr. DeMeglio, you could probably chime in on it a bit, as we've been focusing on making sure that all students have access and equity, one of the things that we've been also talking about is making sure that we understand what their individual stressors are, what their challenges are, what things they're worried about, what sort of things they need support about. And I think you summed that up really nicely today with the 10th graders.
The most important thing is, they really do need to reach out to us whenever they're having a tough time. And I think that's the most important thing. Some of them are glued to the computer all day long, and it can really stress them out, and they need to contact us and let us know. Talk to guidance counselors, talk to us. We're really stressing that to stay connected to us. We know it's difficult, and I know myself just being glued to this computer, especially today, I had to get out. I had to shut it down for 5 minutes and walk away and take a little bike ride. And I came back and I was refreshed. And I've been telling the kids to do the same. Don't be afraid to do that. Get outside a little bit and get away from the computer screen. It's so important. And if there's issues that are going on that we just don't know about, they need to just tell us so that we can help them out. And we do have ways of doing that, and we certainly can make ourselves available. We've gotten so many emails from kids. It's incredible. And I know the guidance counselors have been working really, really hard to reach out to everybody that's reached out to them. If I can say one thing, stay connected. Stay connected to us. It really certainly does help in this case. And the feedback everybody's been giving us, Mr. Rubin, in terms of the survey work that we send out is really vital to the delivery of the information that kids are getting at home. We do take it, we do run with it, we analyze the heck out of it and figure out what we need to do better. And it is going a long way. So.
And I think we're trying to walk that balance between communicating but not overwhelming. We have heard, there are people in this meeting who have kids at multiple buildings, and you're getting all these emails and all these messages, and I'm in the same boat. I'm getting messages from two of my kids' classes, and the school district I work in, the school district I live in, and it can be overwhelming. And so we're giving people the permission to say, you know what, I'm not going to read that right now. I'm not going to deal with this today. And that's okay. And it's also okay to tell us that, when a counselor calls or a teacher calls, I already heard from so-and-so, we've got it. Thank you. and don't worry. Sometimes I think we feel like we're kind of like that call you get from the telemarketer, and we're trying not to be that, but we really want to be mindful for you of the things that we're just trying to reach out for. And as this goes along, we're learning of those personally affected by COVID-19. We're learning of students who are essential employees. We're learning of students who have families that are essential employees, and that is impacting their own well-being. And they're nervous, they're tense, they're worried. And I get a lot of these messages. I'm not a counselor. I don't pretend to be. It's okay if something like this is going on to reach out to us, so that we know to give people the heads up before they give you the call and say, hey, Johnny didn't do his English homework, or I haven't seen Susie in our math class in the last week, when there could be something else going on. That has been a challenge that is unique to this. Everything else, reaching out to parents and kids and things like that, everything like that's maybe a little bit different part of our playbook, but dealing with a pandemic is very new. And so we're trying to do that respectfully, and knowing that with this recent surge, which hopefully we're going to the other side of, I really am hopeful, we're going to learn more and more about that. So again, all our staff are available. The student feedback about staff access has been very, very positive. But again, you see the common themes. If things are struggles, please let us know. I want to say there was some concerns the last meeting about Zoom and Google Hangouts and technology. We have not had any issues since formal remote learning started. Since we moved from optional to required, put a few more security steps in place. Many thanks to Patrick Missler and his team for helping some of the kids through some of their issues and access issues at home as well, that families have identified. Really, that has been something we are not remotely worried about. And again, the staff and students have been flexible. There have been a few snafus with like PDFs that teachers have sent out saying, hey, work on this worksheet or something like that. If those things come up, please let the teachers know, let us know, let a counselor know. We can put in the support ticket. And when you do that, just give us the best number at which to reach someone. If it's a student's cell phone number, the tech guys, they'll call the students at the cell phone and say, let's walk us through the iPad and we'll fix it. But no issues that I can think of. I want to go through a couple of supports that are on the district homepage. If you go to uxbridgeschools.com, down toward the bottom third of the page, there's an entire page dedicated to COVID-19. A lot of these are consistent with things the Board of Health has posted. There's some of the supports we have in place. The remote learning page has some things that are updated every week with ways to stay well, mental wellness, and also links to our respective school pages. On that COVID-19 page, there's some information about meals to go. The school district is offering free meals to not only any Uxbridge student, but any person under the age of 21 in town. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 11 to 1 at Taft. And if you can't pick up during that time, we talk about it taking a village. Our cafeteria staff has actually been making arrangements to get food to people if they need it. I get the pride side of things, that sometimes people are more hesitant to reach out. I've been saying to the students, sign up and make this like part of your daily routine. Go out for an hour and take a ride with your mom and go pick up lunch, or if you have your license, go by for it on Mondays or Fridays and make that like a half hour away, and stay in your vehicle. The employees come right out, they distribute the meals, and there are a lot of other resources that the district is making available for families. I think Dr. Tiano and Mr. Hyde reported last night that the numbers are in the thousands of meals that are being distributed. beyond that, I know the lunch staff, the cafeteria staff, would love to see some of the students. I mean, even if it's through a window and behind a mask, they would love to see you guys and your kids. Things we're still going to do. We, believe it or not, I said we're building the plane mid-flight, but that doesn't mean the ship that left the dock in September isn't still floating and still surging ahead. We are working on our school improvement plan. Our school council is going to vote on it for next year. Some of the things that you saw in this presentation are going to make their way into that strategic plan, into our improvement plan, and through the district strategic plan, because we really feel like the district and our school are going in a good direction. And yeah, this is a road bump, but it's not going to get in the way of doing some great things. We're talking about reentry, not just from an academic standpoint, but an emotional standpoint, and meeting people where they are. We want to provide opportunities, if we're allowed, to get people reconnected over the summer. 7th graders making the jump to 8th grade. 8th graders who are making the decisions about 9th grade. Upperclassmen that want to be our leaders in our organizations and clubs, and all of those things that we are used to doing over the summer, leadership retreats and things like that. We are going to try and do all of it over the summer as best we can, as soon as we're able to. And again, permission needs to be granted. We're going to be sending some surveys out to the kids, probably in a couple of weeks, just to get a sense of what sort of supports they need. And most importantly, and I saved it for last, celebrating this senior class in a special way. We've reiterated a lot of what was lost. And I remember talking to one of my neighbors who was a kid when World War II broke out. He was an older guy. He's since passed away. And some of him and his friends, he would always joke around prom time, because he would say, "Yeah, I think I spent my prom on the beaches of Italy." And I said, "Well, that must have been nice." He goes, "Not where I was." And he joined the Marines. He was 17 years old, and he joined the Marines. And there was a whole generation of great Americans that had a lot of things they lost, and man, the things that we gained. And that's what we're going to really try and help this class through, as they mourn what they've lost, and maybe keep a perspective of the things that we're going to help them regain, and value, because they're important not just to them, but to their families and to us. I do want to give a couple of shout outs. I don't know if you overheard when we came in, I got my 3D printer finally fired up today. We are as a school district, from teachers at Whiten and students, parents. Some of you might be in this meeting. There's more than 100 people, so I didn't keep actual track. We've been designing and distributing personal protection equipment that is being used by medical personnel, penitentiary workers, first responders, our own police and fire, medical doctors, nurses, you name it. And it started with an idea from a student at Uxbridge High School, and it went viral. We have distributed in the thousands of these things, and today I went out to Hudson to a plastics manufacturer, and there was a company there that gave us almost 14,000 grams of 14,000 grams of plastic. And the 14,000 grams of plastic, it takes one of our shields that we make takes about 28 grams of plastic. And so that gives you an idea of the scale and the magnitude of the work that our teachers are doing. Also, our partnership with the Chamber of Commerce, with our Board of Health, the communication between central office and all the different boards in our communities, our local industry partners, has really made this all possible. And these are people who are stepping up for our school right now. They're stepping up for our community. We've had families and parents that have said, "What can we do to help?" We have, I think, 8 or 9 3D printers that are deployed between students and teachers. And here I am before this meeting. I'm calling Mr. Smutok saying, how the heck do you do this? And he's looking at me like, well, there are 8th and 9th graders who can do it, so you'll be able to figure it out. And that's what's really awesome about this work. One thing we are asking, we ask this of the students, if there are first responders, essential workers, and I'm talking about some of our kiddos that are working in nursing homes, that are working in food stores, that are doing a lot of this work. We wanted to send pictures of them to me. We are going to be creating something using our video technology to celebrate these folks and give them a little morale booster. So if you know any of these people in your families that are Uxbridge folks or connected to us in some way, please send us those pictures, send us a quick video. We are going to be putting something together in the next month to say thank you to all of these people who are doing so much to keep our world afloat. It could be a UPS driver. I mean, any of these people who are still working to keep us going, despite what's going on. I'm going to return back as we end to our core values through this. We're going to stay connected. We're going to stay flexible. We're going to stay equitable. We're going to stay understanding, and we're going to continue to support you. We're going to support those kids. We're going to support their families. Please communicate with us. Do whatever it is that we can. If there's a suggestion, if there's feedback, that we could be doing better. Please understand this is new for us as well, and we're just trying to really do our best. So I think that's all I've got on the slideshow front. I think the last slide says questions. Before I move to Q&A, I'm going to stop the share, and I'm going to come back. And Mr. DeMeglio, is there anything I'm forgetting?
The only thing that came up today in one of our meetings was distribution of medicines that we have in our school. That we'll have to talk about that, how we're going to get the medicines back out to families, like insulin, those kinds of things that kids leave with us, that sort of have a shelf life anyway, and we want to get it back out into the hands of the families. So that should be coming up, but we'll have to talk about that when we can do that.
So there are some questions there. Some of them I do have answers for. Some of them I do not. As far as athletic fees, there is going to be an update coming from Mr. Carboni in the business office about returning any athletic fee for the spring that was already paid because the spring season was canceled. There's also going to be the option of rolling it forward to next year for a fall season when that starts. So there's a couple of options there that are going to be coming out. So stay tuned. I'm hoping that gets sent out probably the beginning of next week. The Mendon Drive-In, we've been looking at a lot of different venues. That is one of them, and the response from Ms. Mobley is accurate. They do not rent it in the evening, and the screen is not available during the day. Students getting belongings from lockers or classrooms. We actually talked about that this morning in our principals meeting. We mentioned that to Dr. Tiano as well as, and I know he's here, that we are going to be setting up a schedule by which we can do that safely, and determining what's in the building and giving students time. We got to make sure we have the right materials to do that, I think. Some students would come with gloves and a mask, and that's the recommendation right now from our Board of Health, but some students would not. I will say I was in the building today. It's safe. Everything is locked up, but we will make sure that we get students into the building. I do know that we do have to address that. We have to address that for staff as well. We have some staff that have things that were left behind on March 13th, and some have gone back in here and there to gather some things, but some have not. And there are some staff that are not returning next year, and they're going to have to clean out some things as well. I am going to unmute Dr. Tiano if there's anything more specific on the reopening of buildings toward the end of the year. I don't think we have anything specific as of yet.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Mr. Rubin. We are working on a district-wide approach to this, not just the high school, but also at the Taft, our Independence Project, and so forth. I'm in weekly meetings with the town's interdepartment emergency management, continuous contact with our Board of Health. We will have an opportunity for students, staff, to collect their belongings. We just need to make sure that we provide the most safe environment in which to do that. That is on our list of things to do. And as always, we greatly appreciate your patience as we figure all this stuff out.
As far as the, thank you, Dr. Tiano. As far as the seniors' last day, where we're not going to have exams, what we are likely going to do is determine probably their last day around the same time. And then if they are caught up, sorry, I'm leaning forward to look at my calendar. Their last day was supposed to be somewhere around the May 15th range. My guess is, and again, we haven't talked about that with our leadership team yet. My guess is, by law, it can be up to 10 days prior to the graduation day that they can be dismissed from class, or 10 days prior to the last day of school. There's some statute about last days for seniors. My guess is what we'll do is we will end formal classes and use those last couple of weeks that they would have been with us. That would have been senior week. That would have been, things like their exam week, and use that as an opportunity for our teachers to focus in on those senior classes on any students who had work that needed to be caught up, and anything that was outstanding. We will get out the official last day probably sometime next week. I do need to meet with our leadership team and the counselors to make sure that we don't advertise a day and then have it turn out that we're either a week too late or a week too early. Same thing with senior iPads. What we had done in the past, Mr. Missler will gather, will send a letter to the parents of the seniors. Typically, it goes out the first week of May. So we are right on time with that. That talks about the last month of school for the seniors. Their last day, the exam schedule, senior week. And again, obviously, that's looking a lot different for us right now. If the students want to buy them, there's usually a prorated cost. I think last year, you know what, I don't want to speculate on it because I don't want to be wrong. But I know it was a pretty discounted rate. And we have the return date, I have a feeling, is going to be a drive-by at one of the buildings, where the students will drive up, they'll drop it off, it'll be checked in, somebody will bring it into the building, and they'll be sent on their way. We'll try and do so with some guidelines around, the alphabet, letters A through C will probably come on these days or times, and we'll give some options so we have people available and safe to do so. Thank you for all we're doing. We're trying. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate that. They're all our kids. I say that, every year I got 2 of my own, and I have 592 in that building every day. And now they're not in that building. So it's kind of an interesting situation, but they're still our kids. The popcorn fundraiser, actually, Mrs. Durkin talked about that with the sophomores today. I believe they've worked with the company to make sure that actually everything that was purchased will get delivered directly to each of the students' homes. I think that's what the popcorn fundraiser will do, and I think everything will get individually sent to the homes. I will have her follow up with the advisors follow up with a message to the parents. I know they sent something out to the kids, but I will have them send up a parent email about that just to clarify. 8th graders going to BVT, can they buy the iPad? They typically cannot. This came up last year, and part of the reason, but I will have Mr. Missler clarify that because I am not 100% sure. So I believe last year the answer was no. Don't quote me on that. And yes, we have a whole bunch of things that need to be returned. Music, library books, other textbooks. That is all part of, I think, our kind of next couple of weeks planning to make sure we do things as cleanly as possible. And any info on the makeups for the ACTs? Mr. Barry, I don't know if we've heard anything from the ACT as of yet. I don't think that they had not. It's funny, I did not get a
I haven't gotten anything either.
I have not gotten anything from them. I want to say there was a test day that was rescheduled for June 13th. I think there was an ACT date, and they have not made a decision on that yet. So at least I haven't seen a cancellation notice on it. So we'll do some research on that. Mr. DeMaglio, can you get in touch with the ACT folks and see if they've done anything with that June 13th? And you know what? I'm going to take down all of these iPad questions and make sure Mr. Missler and I get like an FAQ out to everybody. You know, like I see the question about, can a senior's iPad be transferred? It might, but I want to say that sometimes you might not want to because we're dealing with newer versions. So it may be better to return the old one and get the new one. Just because some of the apps, I dealt with this myself this year, some of the apps need a newer operating system, and some of the things that teachers are doing may not jive, but that's not necessarily 100% certainty. So it seems like iPads are a hot item, especially for the return and for potential 8th graders moving on to Valley Tech. And I will make sure we get answers to all of that. I want to say just before, you know, if there aren't any other questions in the chat room, we'll continue to do these sort of things as often as we have to. I just want to, once again, I can't thank everyone enough for their ongoing sort of dialogue with us, for being so open-minded and patient with some of our decision making. I assure you that if we're being maybe a little bit delayed in sometimes making decisions, it's because we're going to do things right. And I shared this with the PSG parents on Wednesday night when I was chatting with them. There was an update when this all happened. It was and I apologize to you that are hearing this again. There was a guy from the WHO who was talking about combating Ebola when he was in the Ebola scare and then the SARS scare. And this is, you know, going back, you know, over the last 10, 15 years. And he said, when you're dealing with pandemic sort of circumstances, you go at it 100%. There isn't time to really think about, well, are we doing this right? Are we not doing this right? And so that was sort of our approach to remote learning. And then that was our approach to classes. You know, we'll go all in and then we'll adjust it if we have to. I think that's been a message that we've heard from the superintendent. It's been a message that we've heard from our community that, like, look, let's get a plan down. Let's be flexible. Let's focus on connections. Let's go all in on that. And then maybe let's take a step back and see what's working and what's not. Some of these things that we're planning for now will not have that same approach. We get one shot to do graduation for this class right. So we are going to be really thoughtful about it. We get one shot to make a decision on what we think we want to do with something like the prom. So we want to make sure we do that right. And so if it seems like we are maybe delaying some of our decisions, I promise you that it's being done in the best of intentions. You know, I will say that there are people in this district, not just in our building, but across all the buildings, that have pulled together in ways I've never seen. And they are working so flipping hard. I'm getting messages from 4:30 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night. And you know, I know Mr. DeMaglio is over there saying sometimes we just got to get up and we just got to go do something and do something different. I'm learning how to play the harmonica. That's my salvation right now, and I'm not with my own 2 kids.
And I have to listen to him.
And he does have to listen to me. So we do have to find our piece in all of this. And the one thing I said to the sophomores today, and I've said to every class this week, every day that we wake up, we're one day closer to the end and to things being closer to normal again. So I want to say thank you. I don't know if I know there are a couple staff members in here, Mr. D, Mr. Barry, if I'm forgetting anything before we say goodnight to everyone.
I just want to say that, I've been in so many virtual classrooms over the past few weeks, and I can see such a progression in how teachers are putting their lessons together, and they are growing so fast. It's incredible in terms of the quality and the quantity and just, really doing an unbelievable job in the delivery and what they're giving kids. It truly is amazing how much everybody's growing. And I mean that, globally, we are just growing in how we deliver this curriculum to kids now. It truly is amazing. And I just want to say our teachers are doing a fabulous job, and keep working hard. I know they're out there, and I know there's a lot of teachers in the crowd that don't teach at Uxbridge that are working really, really hard. It's a tough time, but we'll get through it. We'll tough it out.
Mr. Barry and Dr. Tiano, I don't know if you have anything you want to add before we say goodnight.
Yeah, guys, I would just say, on behalf of all the staff, and especially the support staff that I work really closely with, we can't explain how much we miss working with your kids. This is hard for everybody, and and not one book that I read in grad school on how to be a guidance counselor did it ever cover the chapter of what do we do in a pandemic, and I think we're all in this together, and that's just kind of what I'm hearing when I talk to parents, whether it's through email or texts or all these different Google devices, things like that. We're in this together. So, keep your spirits up. And again, this is anything you ever need. Please let our staff know, and we'll take care of it the best of our ability. So take care of yourselves, tell your kids we miss them, and, be good.
Mr. Rubin, if I could just
Sure.
add for 2 seconds. I'm relatively new to the community of Uxbridge. I've been here a year and a half. And when a community is faced with adversity, your basic instincts are fight or flight. Uxbridge is full of fighters, and they're full of people who will rally together to support our kids, to support our family, to watch our staff come together, to support each other, and help with skills in terms of technology that they didn't know they had in them. And so watching our staff, watching our kids, and watching, most importantly, our families. My daughter's upstairs. I'm in my basement right now. Welcome. But my daughter's spending her senior year of college with her parents. And as difficult as that is, she's making the best of it, as all of you are. And thank you so much for your collaboration. Thank you so much for your patience. As Mr. Rubin said, we are pushing forward every day, and we are doing it as thoughtfully and as purposefully as we can with your kids in mind. So thank you. And Mr. Rubin, Mr. DeMeglia, thank you for doing this as well. This is outstanding. Greatly appreciated.
Oh, my pleasure. And we will do our best to communicate things as they come up. Again, we still are going to try and do still try and send out something every Friday. On our website, there is obviously links to our podcasts. We try and send things out in a few different formats. Some people like to read, some people like to listen, some people like to watch. We'll try and provide everything as best we can. So whatever format works for you, I hope you stay connected to us. And again, any suggestions you have, we're usually available. We're up and working all hours of the night. So thanks everyone for being here. I am gonna just kind of look at the grid one time. I'm gonna take a picture of this and send it to your students. They want to know what you look like on Zoom. Haha. Except some of you don't have pictures and you're just black and white names. With that being said, thanks so much. As we have more information, we'll get it out to you. Thanks for taking time out of your night, and be safe out there. Stay healthy, stay well. We'll see you soon.
Be safe.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everyone.